You got a clip?
When the red pill grift goes terribly wrong in a terrible, terrible way, apparently.
All right, so in this video, we have this red pill guy who goes by Cooley, and he does like a fresh and fit knockoff podcast. But recently he got exposed for dating a single mom, and now his career is in shambles. And people exposed this after a clip of him went viral where he's on this podcast talking about how he fits in the category of a top tier man.
You believe you're a top tier man? By what standard?
I'm 6'4", only about what? 8% of the entire world is 6'4". I make well over 100K a year. And I'm black at that if you add that on. So just if we're speaking about those figures, the things that women are attracted to, no, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'll let you do the math.
So people...
I'll let you do the math. This is such an interesting genre of people. Like, they complain about the fact that girls, like, commodify dating so much or whatever, which, I mean, those girls do exist, undoubtedly. But, like, what is really going on here? What is really, really going on here, right? He's doing the exact same thing. He's like, I'm black, I'm 6'4", I make over 100K a year. I'm black if they count that. Like, does that really mean anything? I would say probably not. So I guess we'll find out whatever this guy is actually about.
People did the math, and it turns out he's dating a single mom, which in the red
No!
pill space is definitely not top tier.
No, dude. Dating a single mom? Oh my god, dude. I can't imagine anything worse than that. Dating a single mother? Bro. Embarrassing. It is crazy this is even like a conversation that people care about in the red pill space. I mean, obviously if you're like 20, it's probably not a good idea to date like a 30-something-year-old single mom. But if you're, in your mid-30s and you're dating around still, is it such a bad thing? Such a bad thing to date a single mom? I feel like it's probably fine. There are a lot of reasons why she could be a single mom. Maybe the guy left. Maybe the previous guy was a piece of shit. Maybe she pushed him away because she was so annoying and bitchy. But, there are a lot of other factors. I feel like it's good to be understanding if you can.
Your man behavior, and like they're all pretty much against it. Even Cooley himself. That's really the most embarrassing part here. There's so many clips from his podcast where he's just trashing single moms. So this guy has no self-awareness. It's wild. I mean, he basically is insulting his own girlfriend here because he says single moms have the worst character trait.
Dating a single mom takes a lot of money, time, and resources. I mean, it depends on the single mom. Like, some of them, yeah, but there are single moms out there who are professionals who probably have enough money that they can support themselves, and you're not going to be, like, taking care of them and their kids right away. I mean, maybe long-term, if you want to have a relationship with her, maybe you have to help take care of the kids, but I feel like in general, it's probably not that big of a deal. Maybe she killed him? Yeah, I mean, maybe.
And are selfish and terrible moms, which is insane considering he's dating one and he's also having a kid with her. So I'd imagine he probably doesn't actually think this.
Are all of these red pill guys just full of shit? Like every single one? There has to be one that's like actually based and actually, like, when I say based, I mean honest and isn't like hiding their secret private life, right? They have to exist. These people have to be out there somewhere.
Well, for one, because I'm a very good mother. I'm not a perfect mom, but I'm a very good mom, so I think.
But what does that have to do with him?
Because I think that shows a lot about my character. And why do I think I deserve it? Because I believe that.
Well, wait, time out. You being a good mother, that doesn't show that you have good character, because single mothers normally don't have good character, generally speaking, because they chose the wrong man, meaning that they normally broke up the relationship. They initiated the breakup. So they show. Single moms show the worst characteristic traits, to be honest. I'll explain why. Because if
I'm one of the actual base red pill people, but I don't have a podcast because podcasts are cringe. Well, PK in the chat, what does red pill mean to you? Like, what does that mean? Like, what is the red pill? Like, what does that mean to you? Because to me, it seems like a very nebulous term. Like, back in the day, when I say back in the day, like I'm so old, but back in the day on 4chan, I mean, being red pill was not like this new age like MGTOW thing. It was more like racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic. That's what it meant back then, right? The best way is black pill and white pill mixed. I feel like not everything needs some, outside of using it for a funny term, to describe how you're feeling on that current day. I feel like generally saying I'm black pilled is not really going to help you that much. I feel like it's good to just be like, all right, well, I feel this way, instead of like bunching together these beliefs into this one little autistic term that can then be like misrepresented and spread around in various areas of the internet. Like, I feel like saying I'm red pilled is probably not good. I don't use pills. That sounds like internet cringe. Hey, I'm on the internet and I'm not cringe.
They had good characteristic traits, they would be with the baby father. They would have chose a man that's worthy of them to have a good kid with, and they would stay with that man. I just wanted to let you know that when we see a single mom, We don't see good character, even if she can claim that she's a good mom. We see terrible mom.
Oh, I can't wait to answer this.
No,
But like the implication of this is that like all women who are single moms like deserve it. Like what if the father died? Like what if her husband died in a fucking car crash? Like obviously that's a statistical anomaly among single moms, but what if the father was just like a piece of shit who got up and ran? You know, in a lot of areas and communities in the US, that's unfortunately a very common thing. Like there could be a lot of different explanations for this outside of, oh, she's a horrible person, the guy ran away. You know what I mean? Like if you're like 20 years old, you know, you probably shouldn't be taking relationships that seriously anyway. So if you're 20 dating a fucking 30-year-old single mom, I'm sure that's rare, but if you're doing that, you probably shouldn't be doing that. That's probably a bad idea. You should probably just be, you know, trying to have fun with relationships at that age while you figure out who you are. But if you're in your like, you know, late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, early 40s, you know, you're an adult with a stable income, you've got a lot going on and you want to date a single mom, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that.
Yeah, so this is what happens when you get carried away with the grift. Like also these red pill guys, they always convince themselves that they're not hypocrites because they're the exception, you know, they're doing something different. Like Cooley's main defense is his situation and girlfriend are exceptions to the rule, which his situation, it does make a little more sense for him because he was a single dad and he said he wanted somebody who had experience being a parent, which is understandable, but he's completely contradicting himself now because like in that clip I just played, he said basically single moms are the worst parents, but obviously he doesn't think that if he wanted one to be the mother of his kid. I mean, he actually thinks the opposite, it sounds like. He wanted someone with experience as a parent. But then on his podcast, he'll say there are no good qualities in them. So he just got way too carried away with the red pill shtick. I mean, some of the stuff he'd say on his podcast, his girlfriend has to be so embarrassed about. Like
But I think the problem here is like it's so profitable to be in this red pill space and make money doing these podcasts, right? Like they make a bunch of money doing that, so they're incentivized to just be disingenuous. Like I doubt this guy even thought once like, well, what about my private life? What about the fact I'm dating a single mom meanwhile I'm shitting on them publicly, right? He probably wasn't even thinking about that, and he probably doesn't even care that it got leaked because for him, it's all just content, right? He gets to have a good grift off of it. He gets to talk about it publicly. It gets to be a big thing for him. It's pretty easy, you know. There's a space for that, or at least there was. I think it's kind of dying now, but there was a space for that. I'd say starting like 3-4 years ago.
probably always has to constantly tell her, don't worry, I'm just playing a character. I don't actually mean any of that, because it's insulting towards her. Like, imagine what his girlfriend must think about this.
Single moms, to answer your question directly, like I said,
I don't think it's a bad thing.
recreational use only.
No.
Do you guys know what that means?
Are you serious?
Recreational use only. Especially if you up in your ages in your 30s. Recreational use only.
Do you mean like hit it and quit it?
Yes,
Recreational use.
recreational use only, meaning you won't use any for sex, that's it.
Recreational,
Is that
Single mother.
recreational use.
Even if
Can we
she
go around? I'm waiting patiently.
We're gonna get to y'all.
Yeah, so it's crazy for him to have the audacity to say stuff like this, considering his situation. But you could tell he's just trying to be like Myron from Fresh and Fit. You know, he's definitely influenced by him. I'm pretty sure that's who he got this recreational use line from.
She's got a couple kids, yeah.
Hell nah, bro.
Yeah,
That's a dub.
single mothers are recreational use only. You don't marry those women. That's a bad move for you as a man.
Why? Because of the baggage? Because of the kids? Because of the just...
There's far too much risk. I mean, marrying a single mother, now you're bringing kids into the equation that you're going to have to provide and protect for that aren't your own seed. And if that woman breaks up with you, now you're going to get hit with a double whammy of you.
And another red pill guy who actually married a single mom is Walter, of course. And they asked him about it. He's like, yeah, it's cool, but I didn't realize.
Why is it the case for all of them? Like, how is there not one of them that's like on a different sort of wave? You know what I mean? Like how is there not one of them that's just consistent publicly and privately with their beliefs? Why are they all hypocrites? There's got to be at least one of them who isn't. I mean, like Myron. I haven't seen anything about Myron's private life where he's like dating an escort or something. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen that, you know? I just wonder how much of this stuff I wonder how much of this stuff these men believe and how much of it is just for clips and reaction content. I mean that like, if I had to guess, a decent amount of it is stuff they believe, but I think a lot of the things that people believe are inconsistent with their actual actions. Like, I think a lot of people online that I've seen, they will say things, and it honestly has very little to do with how they actually feel, how they actually, act in real life. I think that's a pretty consistent thing. Like the majority of people are hypocrites in some way, you know, and that's somewhat understandable. But the thing past that is like, even on top of that shit, right? Even apart from them being hypocrites in some way, these guys are in a prime position to be exposed for hypocrisy because they publicly are railing on single moms. They're railing on guys who date them. They're shitting on them all day. I thought Myron was caught asking for dating advice online. Maybe he was. I haven't seen that. Maybe he was 10 years ago. But even that is not like, that in and of itself is not like a complete departure from his beliefs. Like asking for dating advice is not that crazy. Maybe if that was like, you know, 6 months ago, I would agree. But if it was like 10 years ago, I'd be like, whatever. You know what I mean? It kind of depends.
I'd have to be taking care of a kid.
You did it. You married a single mom.
Yep.
How'd that work out?
Honestly speaking, like it was a cool relationship with me and her. Just that the other element of the kid being there. One, I was young. I didn't understand what it really was. And two, they tell you up front. Well, some women tell you, oh, you know what? Don't worry about the kid. I'm gonna take care of him. It's not your responsibility. But over time, it's like, yo, you're gonna have to at some point chip in or be a part of it. So it's like, as a young guy coming up, if you're single with no kids, honestly speaking, your best strategy is to have a woman that has no kids as well, because that burden, that's not your burden.
Yeah, so these red pill guys talk a lot of shit about single moms, but they seem to end up in relationships with them. Like also Wes Watson as well. He's been married twice to single moms, but he's at least open about it. You know, he doesn't seem to be embarrassed at all, unlike Cooley, who's too ashamed to admit it on his podcast because he probably knows how hypocritical it sounds.
When I see a single mom, right, I see a woman that made all the wrong choices and only prioritized how she feels. She's selfish.
Will you ever date a single mom?
I mean, single moms need love too.
He just spent a minute straight shitting on them and saying that you should never date them. At least he's like acknowledging that he would, but even at that, like it's such a departure from what he was just saying. He was just saying why they're bad people, and now he's saying they need love too. Literally 1 minute ago, he was like, "I would never ever date a single mom."
They could get a little recreational use only sometimes.
Wow. You believe that single moms are damaged? Are damaged goods?
Well, damaged goods. I believe that. I mean, she just said it right there. What'd she say?
Yeah, so it sounds like he's ashamed of it, but of course in his response video, he acts like, I was never trying to hide anything, you know, I was upfront about it all, but clearly right there, he wasn't. And almost every comment on his response video is calling him out and making fun of him, so I'm sure most of his fans probably didn't know about his relationship, and are really surprised by it, considering how much he talks negatively about single moms. You know, you wouldn't expect him to be dating one. But of course, instead of him taking some accountability and admitting he got caught up in the red pill grift and might have misled people, he doubles down and said he stands.
How much you want to bet his mom is a single mom? I mean, here's the thing. It's very possible. A lot of people who are very aggressive towards one kind of person have some kind of trauma related to it, and that's why they have an unreasonable opinion. So it's very possible his mom is a single mom, and maybe she was a bad mom or she was a bad person. So this is why he's making these broad generalizations, just because of like trauma. You know, a lot of people, they'll claim that their beliefs are based on like empirical evidence or statistics or whatever they believe in. But a lot of the time it's based on just like previous experiences, basically, right? How much you want to bet his mom is a single mom? It's very possible. It's very possible, Bella. I don't know, though. I don't know. I probably wouldn't bet on it. Alpha Men in 2060 will be doing the lion strategy, eat the previous children so the single mother can make more. I mean, maybe. I feel like it's much more likely. Like, being an alpha male in 2060 will mean being trans or something. You know, just the way things are going. If I had to guess, that's probably actually the way it's going to go. There'll be some reformation because like in 2060, being trans will be the typical thing, right? That'll be the norm. That'll be the normal thing. So then we'll have to evolve. So it's like if you're being trans is not enough, there's got to be another level to it, right? So it's going to be like you have to be non-binary and G gender and an omega male. Sorry, not male, an omega individual, right? Who like floats in the sky or something.
Stands by everything he's previously said, but his girlfriend is just an exception to the rule, and he's looking for somebody who understands what it's like to have kids because he wanted a good mother for his daughter, which makes sense, but again contradicts what he said earlier about how single moms are terrible moms. And it's funny because when he's talking about this, he kind of makes it sound like,
should I just go trans mode now? I mean, you know, I'm not one to give advice. If it makes you happy or something, you know, I guess go for it. I don't know.
He had to settle for his girlfriend because he had a kid. Like, if he were just single without a kid, he would have done better.
I had a daughter that I can't be selfish. So I can't be like, man, let me get, you know, the chick with 000 baggage. I'm just looking at those things and all of this, but I'm not really worried about the values and all of that. But when you are a father, you got to be selfless. You got to think about, well, I got to find a woman that embodies some good moral characteristic traits like I do. I got to find a woman that comes from a 2-parent household. I got to find a woman that's like the exception to the rule. Because I'll tell you, when you're a single father, women that don't have kids don't necessarily understand the obligations that come with having kids. You get it? They don't understand the obligations that comes with having kids. So for my situation and for a lot of guys, I mean, if you can get a woman that is the exception to the rule where she's not a single mom because she got knocked up or she had some one-night stands or she has a whole lot of tattoos, like she has all of these other red flags and she's a single mom, is like, God dang, what's going on? Because
What is with the tattoo thing? This is always the thing they say, the tattoos. Why are the tattoos such a concern? Like, I'm not personally attracted to women that are covered head to toe in tattoos, but, 1, 2, or 3 is not that big of a deal, right? I feel like it's whatever. I guess there's just this implication that if you have tattoos as a woman, you're, like, blown out, which is, once again, just part of the generalization. Like, hating on women is really funny, Expressing your hatred towards women is pretty hilarious. It's pretty epic and base, but the problem is, like, these guys are super, super serious about it and actually just hate females. Like, they just hate them. What flavor is Zins? Cool mint, of course.
we know the stigma around single moms. So if you're going to date a single mom, you got to date one that isn't a stigma. But guess what? Stay away from the single moms. I still tell you guys now, because generally speaking, the majority, they have all of that baggage. I just so happen to be the exception to the rule, and so is my chick.
So this did not go well, and pretty much all the comments are talking about how ridiculous he sounds. You know, this person said he literally just took his relationship and made it the exception, and people are like, dude, just take the L and move on. You know, take some accountability here. Like, you always talk about how women need to more, but you can't even take accountability for being with a single mom. You know?
Yeah, I mean, this is like if you go on like tirades for years about how bananas suck, and then people find out that you like bananas, and you're like, well, you see, there are some, certain exceptions to the banana rule, and it's like, well, come on, bro. Like, this matches any belief system, any ridiculous meme conversation you can have about it, right? Like, it literally matches any conversation about this. It's kind of dumb. I wonder if this guy, what's his actual name? What's the name of his channel? So we're at 835. Let's see, what's his name?
All right, so in this video, we have this red pill guy who goes by Cooley, and
Cooley 1007. She height shamed co-host and Cooley snapped.
Which I think they would probably say that about me.
Yeah.
I know what I want, when I want it. Like, I know exactly. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I want to make all the decisions, because I don't, but I can, and I will. I'm very decisive.
So you want to lead the relationship?
No, I don't at all. But what I'm saying is that I can, though, because being the oldest of a big family, you're just forced into that
You
role.
think you could lead a man?
I have before, but I don't want to.
And where is he at now? That means you led him to the end of the relationship.
But that's my point. Is that
that's the point.
Is that I was put into a position to where I was like, okay, it was a bad situation because going into the relationship.
I got it. And my point is that women don't lead. Women can't lead anything. Anytime they do lead,
women can't lead anything. Not a single thing.
Well, you just said that you can.
Right,
I'm saying
I
that
can, but
anytime a
I'm
woman.
saying that based on my personality.
I got it. So my point is saying, no matter what your personality is, the point is that anytime a woman leads a relationship, she leads that relationship to the end. And it's because the 4 questions that I asked, you want taller, stronger, more money, more competent. That means that you want a superior. You want a leader. So if you're leading, that means that you're not getting what you truly want.
Exactly.
So that means that you're going to lead that relationship to the end.
I agree.
So that means 100%. That a woman can't lead a relationship.
I agree.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not arguing.
This is just so, like, obviously in most relationships, I guess, like, in certain ways the guy is leading, but like, generally speaking, there are things that guys take control over, and there are things that women take control over. There are responsibilities you share. Why does he say woman like a slur? I think these guys must just have some kind of, like, general trauma over women in general. She was just agreeing with him the whole time. Who was he arguing with? I have no idea, dude. I have no idea. What is this height thing?
That's based off our height. I'm 6'4", he's 5'8". But you said that he's disqualified because he's 5'8".
I didn't judge his character.
But okay, but you judge his height and he doesn't qualify for you.
Okay, but that's not saying.
And we're saying, but look, time out. The same way he doesn't qualify for you, with your figure, a lot of guys you won't qualify for. So if you like that clip and you...
It seems like these guys just get a rise off of, like, bringing girls on and then being like, wait, the double standard. It's like, is it such a big deal that there are girls who care about height? Is it that big of a deal? The majority of girls, I don't think, really care as long as you're not like fucking 5'4" or something. I think generally they don't give a shit, right?
Is calling him out and making fun of him. So I'm sure most of his fans probably didn't know about his relationship and are really surprised by it, considering how much he talks negatively about single moms. You wouldn't expect him to be dating one. But of course, instead of him taking some accountability and admitting he got caught up in the red pill grift and might have misled people, he doubles down and said he stands by everything he's previously said, but his girlfriend is just an exception to the rule, and he's looking for somebody who understands what it's like to have kids because he wanted a good mother for his daughter, which makes sense, but again, contradicts what he said earlier about how single moms are terrible moms. And it's funny because when he's talking about this, he kind of makes it sound like he had to settle for his girlfriend because he had a kid. Like, if he were just single without a kid, he would have done better.
Imagine his girl listening to this and just hearing like how much he either doesn't give a shit about her or is having to like justify to his audience why he's like, actually, guys, there's good reason for this. There's actually good reason for this. Like, imagine your partner just going on a live stream just shitting on you, shitting on your entire existence over the course of years, shitting on people who are like you, saying that single moms like deserve it or are horrible people. It seems like such a bad position to be in. Why can't, I guess the obvious reason is like the red pill stuff gets you attention right off the bat. Like you're immediately going to get some level of attention for it and some kind of, built-in audience for that. It's like politically right. If you're a conservative or a liberal, you get that built-in audience. But the problem here is like this guy does not practice what he preaches whatsoever. He's un-Jesus-like.
Better.
I had a daughter that I can't be selfish. So I can't be like, man, let me get, the chick with 000 baggage. I'm just looking at those things and all of this, but I'm not really worried about the values and all of that. But when you are a father, you got to be selfless. You got to think about, well, I got to find a woman that embodies some good moral characteristic traits like I do. I got to find a woman that comes from a 2-parent household. I got to find a woman that's like the exception to the rule. Because I'll tell you, when you're a single father, women that don't have kids don't necessarily understand the obligations that come with having kids. You get it? They don't understand the obligations that comes with having kids. So
no one has zero baggage. Yeah, of course, because like people are complicated, relationships are complicated. I don't think it's nice to paint this worldview, that no one deserves sympathy. Everybody, I think to some extent in general, deserves some level of sympathy. They deserve some caveats, right? Because, people are complicated. You have to accept the fact that nobody's perfect. But the world that this guy exists in is like, if you're a woman, you can have, whatever past you have is like completely your fault. It's all your fault and fuck you, right?
For my situation and for a lot of guys, I mean, if you can get a woman that is the exception to the rule where she's not a single mom because she got knocked up or she had some one-night stands or she has a whole lot of tattoos, like she has all of these other red flags and she's a single mom, is like, God dang, what's going on? Because we know the stigma around single moms. So if you're going to date a single mom, you got to date one that isn't a stigma. But guess what? Stay away from the single moms. I still tell you guys now, because generally speaking, the majority, they have all of that baggage. I just so happen to be the exception to the rule, and so is my chick.
So this did not go well, and pretty much all the comments are talking about how ridiculous he sounds. This person said he literally just took his relationship and made it the exception, and people are like, dude, just take the L and move on. Take some accountability here. Like, you always talk about how women need to more, but you can't even take accountability for being with a single mom. Instead he comes up with all these excuses and really tries to act like he's always been consistent with what he believes and what he's telling people.
So a hypocrite is someone that tells someone, yeah, I don't do this. That ain't me. I don't stand for this. But then they go ahead out and do it. So all of these podcasts that's making reactions to me, they saying that I'm hypocritical because they think that, oh, here's another red pill guy making talking points like all of these other podcasts. So he must view himself as like a bachelor and this high value guy, where if you watch No Fugazi, I'm not a bachelor. I have a family. I'm a family guy. I'm a father. So my values and everything that I embody is much different from these other type of red pill podcasts.
Well, yeah, but the way you talk about it, whatever the fuck your name is, cool guy or whatever, the way you talk about it on podcasts is not with nuance. The way you talk about it is as if the world is black and white, right? Single moms are bad people. They deserve to be in the position they're in. And that's just how it is, right? Yeah, Family Guy, good memes. But like that is the way that he talks about it. Literally. That is how he talks about it. And so you shouldn't be surprised when people are mad at you when you're proven to be the other way. If you had built up a career more slowly over time and you weren't in this like cringe red pill space and you were just talking more generally about things, you wouldn't have this mass audience exodus, but that's not how it is here. Sardino, thanks for becoming a member.
Podcast that y'all watch.
And that's only part of the reason why people are calling him a hypocrite. Like, also, he clearly just isn't consistent with what he thinks of single moms, because he said he looks at them as terrible moms, but also he wanted to be with his girlfriend because she's a mom.
And I have a little girl, so at that time it was like, you know, it'd be good to have a mother figure around and someone that understands motherhood and things like that. So, which usually single girls, they don't really understand the obligations. Single moms show the worst characteristic traits, to be honest. When we see a single mom, we don't see good character, even if she can claim that she's a good mom. We see terrible mom.
But of course, his girlfriend is the exception to the rule. You know, she's one of the only respectable ones, apparently. The rest are for recreational use only. He's still going on about that.
If you don't have any kids, recreational use only. 100% recreational use only. If you don't have full custody of your kid, 100% recreational use only. If you do have full custody of your kid, meaning that your kid is with you 24/7, maybe not, man, because it's a much different experience. A lot of you people in here don't have any kids, so you can't even fathom living a life as a man being selfless when you're not, you know, always, you're not just worried about yourself. You have this kid, this copy of yourself that you created. They come first, so you want to put.
I mean, that's a really nice message. Like, if this is the only clip I'd seen of this guy, I'd be like, yeah, based. Like, when you have a child, that's going to be the thing that, you know, takes priority over your life. That's all there is. That's all there's going to be. I think that's cool. I plan to be a father someday. I plan to have kids before 30. And undoubtedly, my priorities will change in life from being, you know, somewhat self-serving in the way it is now, where I'm just like streaming and making videos and, you know, trying to make as much content as possible. Undoubtedly, my modus operandi will change. You know, there is truth to that. But that's not really how this guy lives his life. He's on podcasts all the time talking about how he's a high-value man, how single mothers suck, how women are how women can't lead in a relationship. It's a depressing reality this guy lives in. I wonder if there's going to be guys that can break from this whole red pill arc eventually. It seems like it's dying quite a bit, so they're kind of in a sink or swim moment. Even like Fresh and Fit, they're kind of on a big downswing right now.
Put your kid in the best situation possible.
And I think it'd be better for him if he just accepted responsibility and admitted.
Why aren't single fathers trash? Well, you have to understand the reason why is because they're guys, and guys are infallible. It's probably the woman's fault. It's the modern 304's fault, right? That's why.
Maybe he's trying to be somebody
Obviously.
he's really not and got carried away with it. Because if people are this surprised and disappointed in him being with a single mom, then he's probably misleading people a little bit and was saying stuff on the podcast that he really doesn't agree with. But he just doesn't want to admit it, and he's continuing to double down, which I'm sure will just keep making things worse. But let me know what you guys think. And if you want to hear more about these failed alpha male red pill guys like Wes Watson and Fresh and Fit, make sure you check out my Patreon account. I cover.
Too Lazy to Try covers a lot of these red pill dudes. I do find it fascinating to see that so many of them are full of shit. I mean, we've gone over a bunch of these. All of the Wes Watson ones, obviously, they're really funny. Literally all of them are gold.